I'll never forget the sound of silverware hitting the plate when my husband told his boss I was surprisingly articulate for someone like me. That dinner was supposed to celebrate my biggest career win. Instead, it became the night I watched my marriage die and planned the perfect comeback. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, this story is for you. Stay until the end. Trust me, the karma is worth it. And if you believe people always get what they deserve, hit that like button right now. My name is Simone, and 7 years ago, I thought I'd married my best friend. Garrett was charming, ambitious, and he made me feel like I could conquer the world. I'm an interior designer, and I've worked my tail off to get where I am. Yale graduate, award-winning portfolio, clients who trust me with million-dollar projects. I built my career from the ground up, and I was proud of it. We were proud of it, or so I thought. When Garrett asked me to join him for dinner with his boss and colleagues, I was excited. I'd just landed the contract of my dreams, redesigning an entire luxury hotel downtown. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to share my joy with the man I loved. But the moment he told me to dress nice but not too bold, and to just smile and be charming, something twisted in my stomach. I ignored it. I told myself he was just nervous, that this dinner mattered for his career. I put on my best dress, fixed my hair, and painted on a smile. I had no idea I was walking into a nightmare. I had no idea that by the end of that night, I'd be planning his downfall. The restaurant was the kind of place where they pronounce the menu in French, and the cheapest bottle of wine costs more than my first car. Everyone there looked like they belonged. Tailored suits, pearl necklaces, that easy confidence that comes with old money. And then there was me. I felt their eyes on us the moment we walked in, but I held my head high. I belonged there too, even if they didn't know it yet. Garrett's boss, Mr. Brennan, was exactly what you'd expect. Silver hair, firm handshake, smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. And Vanessa, his coworker, she was there too, sitting a little too close to my husband, laughing a little too loud at his jokes. When Garrett introduced me, he said, "This is my wife, Simone. She does some design work." Some design work, like I was arranging throw pillows as a hobby. I felt my smile tighten, but I didn't say anything. Not yet. Then Mr. Brennan leaned forward with this look, like he was genuinely fascinated, and said, "You're so well-spoken, Simone. Where did you go to school?" I told him Yale, and I watched his eyebrows shoot up like I'd told him I'd been to Mars. Garrett laughed nervously beside me, but he didn't defend me. He didn't say a word. And when Vanessa reached across the table to touch my hair, cooing about how interesting it was, I felt something inside me start to crack. I tried to bring up my hotel contract, my big win, and Garrett cut me off. "Babe, they don't want to hear about that right now." His hand squeezed my knee under the table, a warning. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a bad dinner. This was a betrayal. Then Mr. Brennan made a joke, something about diversity hires and lowering standards, and the entire table erupted in laughter, including Garrett. My husband laughed at a racist joke while I sat there frozen, my face burning with humiliation. I looked at him, waiting for him to say something, anything, but he wouldn't even meet my eyes. Instead, he leaned over and whispered, "Don't make a scene, please. This is important for my career." Important for his career. That's when I felt my heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. But it got worse. Garrett started telling a story about our first date, except he twisted it. He made it sound like he'd rescued me from some rough neighborhood, like I was some charity case he'd saved. He painted himself as my hero, my savior, and they ate it up. Mr. Brennan nodded approvingly and said, "Good for you, Garrett. Not every man would—" He didn't finish, but he didn't have to. I knew exactly what he meant. And my husband, the man who promised to love and honor me, just smiled. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. Everyone stopped talking. "Garrett, I need to speak to you. Outside, now." My voice was calm, but inside I was screaming. Outside that restaurant, I let everything out. I shouted at him, tears streaming down my face, demanding to know where my husband was in there. He told me I was overreacting, that I didn't understand how the corporate world worked. That's when I slapped him, hard. The sound echoed in the night air, and in that silence I said the words that would change everything. "We're done." I drove home alone, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, mascara running down my face. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Garrett. "You embarrassed me. You're being too sensitive. We need to talk about your behavior." My behavior. I blocked his number and threw my phone onto the passenger seat. For 7 years I'd loved this man. For 7 years I'd stood by him, and this is what I got in return. When I got home, I started packing his things. I was throwing his shirts into a suitcase when I saw it, his laptop still open on the kitchen counter. I shouldn't have looked, but something pulled me toward that screen, and what I found made my blood run cold. Emails. Dozens of them, between Garrett and Vanessa. They weren't just colleagues, they were planning a life together. "She doesn't get our world," he'd written. "You deserve someone on your level," she'd replied. And then the one that made me see red. "When are you finally going to leave her?" Vanessa had asked. Garrett's response? "Soon. I'm just waiting for the right time." I called my best friend Talia, and she came over immediately. She read through the emails, her jaw clenched tight. "You're going to divorce him and take everything," she said. But I shook my head. I wanted more than money. I wanted him to feel what I felt. And then it hit me. Mr. Brennan's firm was launching a huge diversity initiative. Garrett was up for a promotion. And that hotel contract I'd landed, it was with Mr. Brennan's biggest client. Suddenly, I wasn't just a heartbroken wife anymore. I was a woman with power, and I was going to use it. 1 week later, I walked into Mr. Brennan's office like I owned the place, because in a way, I did. I brought my portfolio, my credentials, every award I'd ever won, and I laid them out in front of him. I watched his face change as he realized who I actually was, not just Garrett's wife, but one of the most sought-after designers in the city. Elite, accomplished, untouchable. He stammered through an apology, clearly uncomfortable, but I wasn't done yet. I told him I was reconsidering our contract, that I wasn't sure I could work with a firm that created such a hostile environment for people like me. I watched the color drain from his face. Losing me meant losing his biggest client, and in the middle of a diversity initiative, that would be a PR nightmare. Then I slid a folder across his desk. "There's something else you should know," I said, my voice steady. "Your employee Garrett has been conducting an inappropriate relationship with Vanessa. Here's the proof." I'd printed every email, every text, every lie. 2 weeks later, Garrett was fired. Vanessa was demoted. Mr. Brennan personally called me, begging me to continue the contract, offering me more money and public recognition for my work. I accepted, not for him, but for me, because I'd earned it. When Garrett showed up at my door, desperate and broken, telling me we could work through this, I almost laughed. "There is no we anymore," I told him, "and just so you know, I'm keeping the house." I watched him walk away, shoulders slumped, defeated. The man who'd made me feel small was now the smallest thing in my world, and it felt like freedom. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. My design firm was thriving beyond anything I'd imagined. I was featured in a major magazine, my face on the cover, with the headline, "Visionary Designer Breaking Barriers." I was dating again, someone who celebrated every part of me, who introduced me with pride, who never asked me to shrink. I was happy, truly, genuinely happy. Then, one ordinary Tuesday, I ran into Garrett at a coffee shop. He looked tired, worn down by life in a way I'd never seen before. He was between jobs, I'd heard through mutual friends, struggling. When our eyes met, he walked over, his voice small. "Simone, I'm so sorry for everything. I was wrong. I see that now." For a moment, I felt something. Not love, not even anger anymore. Just peace. "I forgive you, Garrett," I said quietly. "Not for you, for me. Because holding on to that pain was only hurting myself. But we'll never be anything again. You made sure of that." I picked up my coffee and walked away, my head held high, feeling lighter with every step. Here's what I learned through all of this. Never shrink yourself to fit into someone else's comfort. The right people will make room for all of you, your power, your voice, your truth. And anyone who asks you to be smaller, who dims your light to make themselves feel brighter, they don't deserve to be in your life at all. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are exactly enough, exactly as you are. If this story hit home, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my position. And subscribe, because karma always comes back around, and I've got more stories to prove it.